Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Forgot to turn the cameras on.
There I am. Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to season 5 and episode number 649 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Friday. It's Friday. Yeah. It's Friday, May 16th, 2025. And you know what that means, kids and cubs? It's not only a Friday, it's a long weekend Friday. Friday. Do. Oh, sorry, I said more do's. That's gonna, yeah, get picked up in the editing thing there. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver, hey. And with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. It looks like it's going to be a lovely day here at the Beaver Lodge. Sun's just poking out above the rooftops. And Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health doing today, sir?
At the moment, it's great. I woke up with existential crisis at 1:30 in the morning, going through a million different anxious scenarios, none of which will ever play out, but that's the way the brain works. And I was a terrible, terrible mess. And waking up this morning, having a cup of coffee, had a few laughs with you before we went live, figuring some stuff out, giving you some good news. So yeah, it's let's just say I'm feeling pretty good right now. So yeah, I'm gonna ride this sled down the mountain.
He's feeling good. Yeah.
I think we've got the best reply of the day thus far to anything I've read online. I'll share this with you. I'll put it on the screen and I'll read it for the listeners because this one is just too good. So you'll see this on the screen. It says, tweet, news, man throws eggs at the newly unveiled statue of Margaret Thatcher. British Alba, questioning, has the criminal been arrested? Bufton Tufton 1234 replies, no, she died a long time ago. That's the best reply of the day. and here's the best part. That was in 2022.
Oh my God. So that's what's the statue there.
Yes.
Looks like kids and cubs.
That's one. That's a different one than this one. This one is in Grantham, her hometown of Grantham, Lincolnshire.
Oh, okay. Not the one in Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a different one. This was in 2022 when that episode. And here's the best part of that. So So within hours of it being installed, somebody splashed red paint on it, painted a hammer and sickle. Somebody else said bastard, which is not a fitting word because that she would actually be anyway. You know, it's like if you're going to get the grammar, get it correct. It's pedantic, right? You know, there it is. That's the statue. So within hours of it being unveiled, a fella showed up outside the statue with a dozen eggs and said, "1 egg, 10 pounds each. Feel free."
Then, because you see Donald Trump going, "Hey, I need those."
Yeah.
So
So yeah, that was pretty good. On this day, May 16th, 2022.
Oh, that is good. That is good. I had found one myself. I showed Mr. Grizzly. It has nothing to do with politics, but it just appeals to my particular sense of humor. Mr. Grizzly,
So listen,
you
this
be
is the
Brenda.
hardest I've ever been owned online.
Yes.
Brendel, going to become, in quotes, the bad boy of Jeopardy. And by that I mean, in quotes, I'm going to use my phone to look up the answers until Ken Jennings beats my ass. Ken Jennings replies, "You mean look up the questions?" Yes, because the answer must be delivered in the form of a question.
Sometimes I love pedantic people.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's funnier that way, right?
Oh, man. Okay, so as you can tell, kids, we're gonna have a little bit of fun today. Although we are talking about serious subjects.
Well,
Oh, my word.
before we get into the serious stuff,
Yeah.
today, in irony is dead. It's been
Yes.
killed.
Yes.
Killed and buried. Outright murdered by Ted Cruz. Share this on the screen with you. Outright murdered by Ted Cruz. I'll blow this up so it's easier for you to see. Ted Cruz. I think birthright citizenship is a terrible policy. Ted Cruz's father was born in Cuba. Oh, and I came in hot with a reply. Irony is dead. Ted Cruz, born Raphael Edward Cruz, December 22nd, 1970. Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Listen, Ted, if you hate your job that bad, just quit.
Like birthright citizenship.
You don't need to pass a law to make yourself ineligible. Just resign.
Like start the morning off with a good laugh. It's like, oh my gosh.
It just, you know that thing when they said, like, when we were a kid, when they said brains, they thought they said trains and they missed theirs.
Yes.
Oh my God. They see, when I say kids, every now and then I'm reporting something and I go like, this is just not serious. It's stuff like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is literally, I will just say anything to get my name in print because if this was actually applied, what would be the consequences? Nobody would care what he had to say enough to put it in print.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
And that was, of course, he said that on Fox News. Right?
Of course. Of course.
Like it's a 1 minute clip. I can play the clip if you want to hear it.
Oh, go ahead, please.
It's a 1 minute clip on Fox News with Hannity, Sean Hannity.
Oh.
Supreme Court hears arguments on Trump order seeking to eliminate birthright citizenship. So
lovely pair of coconuts.
Part of the argument is here. That is the absolute heart of the argument, and I think birthright citizenship is terrible policy. It is right now current U.S. law before the Trump executive order that if an illegal alien is here and she gives birth to a child, that baby is instantaneously a U.S. citizen. The problem is that's an incredible magnet for illegal immigration. You see people crossing the southern border. You see pregnant women crossing the southern border explicitly to give birth in America so their baby can be an American citizen. We also have this phenomenon called birth tourism, where you have people from foreign countries, people from China, come to the United States when a woman happens to be 8 or 9 months pregnant and come here to give birth so the baby has American citizenship. That is an abuse of our laws. And so I have long supported ending birthright citizenship. In fact, I filed legislation in the Senate to end birthright citizenship. And that's what President Trump is trying to do as well.
Part of the argument.
Okay, so
now, in all fairness, Ted Cruz is not birthright citizenship because he wasn't born in the United States of an illegal. He's the other way around. But
yes, his father was born in Cuba. I can't write this.
Yeah, it's not as ironic as Andrew Scheer having a problem with dual citizenship for Stéphane Dion and Michael Jean,
when not admitting that he himself is a dual citizen. And what Linda's saying here is correct. It's like when in the United States, so I'll put it on the screen, when you become a U.S. citizen, the U.S. considers that you have given up your citizenship to any other country. As far as the U.S. is concerned, he is no longer Canadian. I think we should agree. He officially renounced his Canadian citizenship in 2014.
Well, there you go.
So we can't take him back. It's like, oh, thank you, Ted. Thank you. That was very lovely of you. We don't want you back, and we can't take you back.
Thank heavens for tender mercies. Oh, boy. Oh, okay. Couple of little tidbits before we get started here, kids and cubs. This one, God, the word is not coming to me. I'm sorry, trigger warning. For SA, we're talking about the trial is still continuing for the 5 men who did the things they are alleged to have done, for which they're being tried at the moment. And there's been some the plaintiff in the case, whose identity is not made public, testified for 7 days.
Wow.
7 days, because each one of the accused had their own lawyer, so each one of them got the question. She testified for 7 days.
Wow.
So it's like, and it seems, according to the reports, that she was holding up very well for the first 2 days, and then around and she was like extremely deferential. And by the 3rd day, she started having a little bit of enough, and started being a little more assertive. I mean, yeah, if you're having your character impugned for 7 straight days, you might get a little sensitive at some point, or get your back up. So, yeah, people are wondering about this type of culture in hockey. Specific, like a lot of people going, well, it shouldn't be like to one sport or anything like that. But in this case, I was listening to a report. We really, 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 once this trial is over, still need to be keeping our eye on junior hockey, specifically, because things happen, but you don't know until, like, sometimes you take a look back. And it seems there was a case in
sometimes you don't
Current.
recognize it at the time, right?
Yeah.
You're not fully aware of what's really going on, and then later on, with hindsight, you're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah. So it seems there was a case like this that happened in Swift Current, 1989. Then in Guelph, 1992. then Saskatoon, 1995, also 1995 in Windsor, then again in Barrie, 2000, and then this one. So, and very similar situations in terms of multiple teammates, one woman. The woman comes forward. Her character is very much impugned. The local community very much supports the players.
Mm-hmm.
In the Swift Current case, the woman was then put on trial for criminal mischief after two charges on two of the accused were stayed, and then she was acquitted. So she was put on trial afterwards for having made the claim. So, and then then there's those, and then if we talk about like ritualized hazing incidents, like we saw at St. Mike's,
Mm-hmm.
it's all junior high. There's something specifically like this is a thing across all sport. Yes, we've heard about it in gymnastics and all, sexual impropriety and all that kind of stuff. But this particular type of assault seems to be something specific with junior hockey. So once this trial is over, we really, really, really cannot let this go.
No, it needs to be looked at. And some of the comments here that I've put on the screen, 7 days, 7 defense attorneys, which they have their legal right to obtain.
I think
They
it might
have
be
a legal
5,
right
but I'm not sure.
Well, they have a legal right to defense.
Mhm.
And, it's like, it's terrible, as PNC Bio says, it's terrible to have to go through, but the accused are allowed to defend themselves. I don't know how you fix that. The Cat W's comment, the trial is disgusting. She's attacked by 7 lawyers. The players know they did wrong. Bunch of BS. And I agree with Cat, but emotionally, I agree with Cat. Legally, PNC Bio has called it correctly. I don't like it, but they have a right to defend themselves. If we do not apply the charter rights that we have to every citizen equally, then we don't have any of them.
Mhm. But
so even like this, which are abhorrently disgusting, you still have to walk that center line, and they are allowed to defend themselves. Now, I don't like any of this. I don't like how this trial may very well turn out. But law is the law. We have to apply it evenly.
And the thing is with these types of cases, in particular, because everybody is not only entitled to a defense, but the most zealous defense possible. You get this. The tactics, like even if we can all agree, like everybody deserves a defense, right? We still get our backs up at the tactics and the stuff like this. But it's then you go back and it's like, oh yeah, they have a right to a zealous defense. So that the lawyer will throw everything possible at it in order to be able to acquit you. And again, right? This is these laws are written, yes, for the accused, whatnot, but it's also written for the falsely accused, right? So, like, you got to be able to. The lawyer has to be able to throw absolutely everything, everything, right, to try and acquit you. That's their job. But yeah, it results in stuff like this happening, and
it's all very ugly, all of it.
Yep, it's extremely ugly.
It's
the administration of justice is often not pretty.
This is true. Look, we make no secret of the fact that we are left-leaning centrists. We are progressive centrist, and we lean left. We do. We don't deny that. But both you and I are very staunch when it comes to right is right, wrong is wrong, laws are laws, and rights need to be observed for everyone.
And you defend institutions. You spend so much time building them.
Yes. And sometimes, I'll have people on the extreme left attack me. Why aren't you? And I go, because what you're saying is fundamentally wrong.
And it might be
Wrong.
good for this case because we don't agree, but now flip it. Let's say it's you.
You
Would you
can't.
want
That's
that?
the thing. You have to apply it evenly, even when you don't like it, even when it goes against your moral fibers. You
Even when you
have
think they
to.
had it coming. That's
It's
like the convoy, right? We all saw what they did,
oh, and I know how I felt.
right? But, right, this is the stuff that keeps us civilized.
And again, I know my emotions on that during that time period. I had lost it because I hadn't slept.
Mhm.
And I was fed up that it went on as long as it did. After 5 days, I blew up, went viral. Wasn't fun, but they rights are rights, and my rights were violated. So were the rights of all of my neighbors.
Yep.
All of us, our rights were violated.
The basic social
defended us?
contract was violated.
Yes. It's like, come on, folks. When you get angry at Palestinian protesters, I go, yeah, I don't necessarily care for them walking through my streets chanting death to Canada. I really don't like that. I don't like that at all. They do have a right to say it, number one. Number two, when there have been rabble rousers, they've been rounded up very quickly and removed. Number three, they always have a police escort, a planned route, and a permit to do it. And number four, I've never seen one take more than 2 hours. They are not camping out in my neighborhood for 3+ weeks. They're not defecating in my streets. They're not launching fireworks at all hours in dangerous areas, I might add. None of that is happening. Again, I don't necessarily care for some of the things they're saying. I do want that war to stop. I think Netanyahu is a war criminal. I think he wants to, well, he wants to remove them and turn it into a resort with Trump.
Yep. Again, he's back at saying that, he won't stop until Hamas is eradicated. And the thing is who determines that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because and when you know that he has a personal vested interest underlying all of this to keep his own ass out of jail. Now he's got all the more reasons. He was like risking going to jail already for the various stuff in Israel. Now, there are charges at the ICC or ICJ. I can't remember. They might be at both now. I don't know, but I know the ICJ definitely, because that's the court where you take states to court, and then the ICC is where you take individuals. So
Right.
So it might be ICJ. But yeah. Like, and again, and a lot of people get upset with me because I like to keep things here, right? And remind people that in a pluralistic country like Canada, right? Even though there's stuff going on over there that people here care a lot about
Yes.
and would love to have the government here say, I am 100% on your side. Realistically, that can't happen here without recreating the situation over there here. And the government here's first responsibility is to try to ensure that the situation over there does not get recreated here.
Correct.
And then do what it can to solve the situation over there and not the other way around. And again, the people who care about what's going on over there, this is not what you want to hear. And that's normal and that's human. Right? The government of Canada has to be the government for all Canadians. And because we're not a monolithic society, but we're pluralistic and we have a significant number of Jewish people living here and a significant number of people who are either practice the religion of Islam or who are Arab and have friends and family like this, whether they practice religion, not about how it developed, right? when people are dying, it's human.
It's human.
Before it's religion, before it's race, before it's national, it's human.
From the outset, I have said, since October 7th, I don't want to see any of this happening. Innocent people are getting killed who have nothing to do with any of this. Innocent people on both sides. I mean, more Gazans are being killed than Israelis.
Yeah, but I mean, but the other side of the ledger is Hamas exists to exterminate Israel.
So, you know.
So again, it's like, what do you do? Right? It's
and here's the other thing. People are saying choose a side, and I'm like, I choose the side of humanity. That's the side I choose. I don't want anybody to be murdered because of their belief system when it comes to, well, we want to reside here where we've resided for thousands of years. Well, we want to move you to Northern Ontario, which was actually suggested. Yeah. We're going to move.
That part?
Yes.
Oh.
Palestinians, we're going to move them to Northern Ontario.
Oh.
Don't worry about it. You'll be all right. Nobody will bother you there. Maybe the polar bears when they,
Jeez.
come down off of James Bay.
But again, it's like, but as a Canadian, in an era of truth and reconciliation, do we not see the irony?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we'll just take you from where you're from and put you somewhere else in a patch of land somewhere that we're not using.
Yeah.
Until we find out that there are minerals under there, and then, oh yeah, we need that. Can we move you again?
We'll put you on this. We'll put you on this piece of land we've reserved for you.
Oh my God! Come on, man.
I got into a conversation yesterday with a gentleman regarding the entire prospect of Alberta separation. I'm just going to touch on this very, very quickly, and then we'll move on. And somebody was like, well, they can't separate, and here's why. It's treaty lands. The chiefs were out and saying, this is our land, blah, 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 blah. And somebody goes, yeah, well, listen to the words of a constitutional lawyer. And this guy went on a long diatribe. None of it made sense. And then I looked up his constitutional lawyer. No. He's a retired SARTEC. He is not a constitutional lawyer. Well, use that supercomputer you have in your hands called your smartphone and put it into Grok and ChatGPT. I'm like, no. None of those AIs are reliable or admissible in court. And it's just been proved because there was a recent case in the US where somebody needed to cite something and didn't want to do the work. So they put it into an AI, and the AI cited all these court cases and all these things and precedent setting decisions. And none of those things had happened. The AI hallucinated these things. So he starts spouting off this stuff in court. Well, this took place and this precedent setting case. And the judge said, none of that happened. Absolutely none of that happened. You used AI for this. He goes, yes, I used AI. He goes, none of that happened. So AI is not admissible in court, number one. Number two, it is not 100% reliable. And if you ever use AI to write a paper, it will say, check everything, because we are seldom 100% correct.
Mm-hmm.
Gemini, which is the one on my Android smartphone, my Pixel phone, says, double check the work. We don't always get it right. Mm-hmm. And the stuff this guy was spouting was so off the mark, it was ridiculous. So I said, look, tell you what, why don't you use your supercomputer in your hand to do some actual research? There are websites that will give you all of the rules and laws about the treaty territory. Number one. Number two, you can actually consult with a living, breathing, real constitutional lawyer, or maybe go to the library and speak to a librarian who's willing to do the research for you, because that's what librarians do. They research. Of course, I never got a response. I think I got blocked too. And I was very polite.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab a coffee. I'll be right back, and we can get into the meat of the show.
Sometimes you don't have to be impolite to get blocked. You just have to ask the question that embarrasses them.
Indeed.
And this, oh, wait a minute. This guy might pop up on my feed and criticize something else I say later. Bye. Sometimes when you can't match wits, there are the people that keep trying regardless and then keep looking stupid. And there are a few people out there who are trolls who realize when they are outmatched and they just like get rid of the competition. That's all. All right, kids and cubs. A couple of other things this morning. Little tidbits here that I've been picking up looking at the news. There's been a significant price drop in the price of oil. I think like $2-3 a barrel all of a sudden, as word of a deal between the United States and Iran seems to that there might be something emerging there. So that's kind of happened. That will make things more difficult again for the government in Alberta, because, as we mentioned, every $1 in the drop of a price of oil below, I think it is $68 or something like that, results in $750 million being blown from the treasury. So that will definitely have some impacts here. As well, Thursday has come and gone, and it seems that President Zelensky called it. It seems that Putin did not show up in Turkey for face-to-face meetings that he himself called for, but instead sent a technical delegation. So, as Zelensky said, Putin found some type of excuse not to come himself. And also in world markets, the price of gold has had a rather dramatic drop over the past few days, following the reduction in tariffs with China. So it seems that where there had been a flight to safety, people are feeling a little more secure. Gold is still down again today, but it had reached as high, if I remember correctly, as about over $3,500 an ounce not too long ago. And it's back down back down 3,177 an ounce. But that's still a significant drop in just a few short days. So yeah, it seems that as I'm not sure. Here's the thing: is with the United States and this particular administration, there's so much bloviating and boasting, and the it's always the marketing, right? Right, like the Pakistan Indian thing, like Trump's all over going like this. Well, I'm not going to say I settled it, but I helped. And you got India and Pakistan pushing back, right? So there's always more, right? There's always some type of show, and you always have to read the fine print here. But even though he's saying like this, we're going to get 90 deals in 90 days, and look, I got this deal, and I look at this deal, and they're really concepts of a deal, or they're just like side agreed or side, that type of stuff. It would seem that perhaps he's gotten the message that his trade war didn't work as fast as he needed it to, and that it is not going to work because they forgot to think about the bond market, and and they forgot to when you wage war on so many fronts at so many times at one time. There's certain countries that will play ball, like the UK jumped in really quickly. There are certain countries that won't. Now the UK has a special situation because since they had Brexit, they kind of need to make some deals. So, but all these climbacks, all these pullbacks, all these adjustments, all these things, they're all signs, right? That it's not working. He knows it's not working. His advisors are telling me it's not working. It's like, how do I try to extricate myself from this mess that I created while still saving face so I can tell my people I won? Right now, you got Trump turning around to us telling Apple, "Hey, don't move your productions from China to India. You were supposed to bring them here."
Well, and Jeff Bezos
You're creating a country where the purge is going to become a documentary. No industry wants to set up shop in a place where there's going to be civil war, dude.
Where's Amazon moving their HQ to?
You
Is it
tell me.
Ireland?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh no,
Also, no.
no, it's not Ireland. I think it's the UAE. I could be incorrect about that, but it basically that's Bezos flipping the bird to Trump. That's what he's doing.
Well, I guess he didn't get enough for his donation.
Apparently. Well, he so one of the things Amazon is going to start doing is showing the tariff cost added to the price of the products that you're purchasing.
Yes.
And Trump went ballistic about that. And I'm
Yes.
like, no, I 100% agree with that. People want to know what these tariffs are costing them. That is a good way to do it. Show the price. Okay, here's what the price was, but with the tariff attached, here's the new price.
Well, remember when
Because
we had the GST
we're not
come on?
going to destroy. Well, yeah, we're not going to destroy our profit margin.
Yeah, there was
For-
like people that were
for
putting
Trump.
on the bills, right? Like what was it, Mulroney's tax and those taxes instead of just GST. Yeah,
Brian Scher.
Brian Scher.
Provincial, whoever the premier was at the time. I remember they did that a lot in Quebec as well. It was like CQs or CACs share and Chrétien share. So it was the PST and then the GST before it became the HST, which I thought was interesting when we had the GST holiday. Well, since it's just one tax now in Ontario and several other provinces, the harmonized sales tax, the GST and the PST combined, when we had that GST holiday, we weren't paying tax on anything.
Mm.
Now, if they want to do that in restaurants, fast food places, bars, pubs, I'd be happy.
Now, Mr. Grizzly, I'm just gonna, unfortunately, I'm on Snopes, and apparently, Amazon did not announce that.
Oh, okay. So it was
Yeah.
a crock. Yeah, I'd heard that it was announced, but
Yeah, apparently I don't. But the thing about putting the prices on
yes,
the
the tariff.
that is.
Yes.
It says a rumor that circulated online in May 2025 claimed that e-commerce giant Amazon announced plans to leave the U.S., moving its headquarters to a new location outside the country. Snopes readers searched for this matter with phrases including Amazon leaving America and Amazon leaving U.S. The matter circulated in the days following reporting that Amazon said it did not plan to display costs associated with U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs next to product prices on its website, despite previous reporting saying the opposite. So they either reversed themselves and they're not going to do it. However, as for the rumor searches of Bing, DuckDuckGo, Google, and Yahoo found no evidence of news media outlets credibly reporting about Amazon intending to leave the U.S. Instead, those searches located numerous YouTube clips hosted by untrustworthy channels promoting various false rumors. So there you go. According to Snopes, because when you said you didn't know where, I was looking up and trying to see, okay, well, where are they moving? And then that was the first thing that popped up. That's what I mean. Again, you got to be careful. Because, I mean, it's completely plausible.
Yes.
Right?
Completely.
Well, like we just said, Apple's going to India instead of coming to the United States. So, but apparently that one is that one. If you heard that one is a hoax, kids and cubs.
Well, and there was a thing I highlighted on my Facebook because I thought it was important that we highlight stories of this nature. There was a video making the rounds on Facebook early May, claiming to show an interview with Chief Public Health Officer Dr. Teresa Tam, saying that Tam says doctors discovered blood clots in deceased COVID-19 vaccinated people and promotes a product to dissolve the clots and avoid death. It's all bullshit. It's a fake video. There's AI manipulation going on. She never did any of these things. And in the end, it just directs you to a website where you can purchase a Dr. Oz endorsed clot dissolving product.
Oh my God. Are you
I just put the link in the chat for anybody who wants to view it.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I copied and pasted the text and put it into Facebook because it'll reach a lot of people and I share away, right? I think I put a link to it on Twitter as well. It's like the truth, a lie will make its way halfway around the world before the truth even gets out of bed.
Wow.
And this is a dangerous lie that people will believe because they want to. There are people I know who would believe that video. There are doctors who believed it. No doctors that I know. I know quite a number of doctors, but none that I know. But I was reading a post by a doctor online saying that I had to refute this with my family. And then the Canadian Press story came out, and I said, see, none of this is true. And the thing is, it's dangerous because they are selling unregulated supplements.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
No. Listen, one of the jobs I had, pre this time when I was doing comms was doing stuff with regard to natural health products, because in Canada we wanted the industry wanted to be able to make some health claims with regard to the products like this. But if you're going to make a health claim, then you got to be able to back it up scientifically.
Show us the
Right,
science.
like this, because we, like, for example, when you get pharmaceutical, there's a DIN, drug identification number, on that.
Mhm.
Because the DIN tells you that's
Yes.
your assurance that what's on the label is actually what's on the bottle, and
Takes
what
them
it says it
checking
does on
verified.
the label is
Yeah.
what's in the bottle actually does. So they were trying to get that type of similar system like this for natural health products, but then because the effects are more subtle and double-blind random clinical trials cost a lot of money,
They do.
right? So try to establish different types of proofs, levels of proof for making different types of claims, right? So, if you're saying that it's a cure, right, or it reverses something, you need a higher level. And if you just say it helps contribute to the, healthy skin and bones, right? Like this, which is a lower level of claim. So that, like this, and then of course with that you have like traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, traditional indigenous medicine, which are all natural, and communicating with communities so that if they wanted to market their products, they could as well. So it's really big industry. And then when you think about it, like the manufacturing processes and the sterile environments and all of that, right? I mean, it's not just as easy as saying, hey, it's just natural, sell it. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes behind that, right? So it's a big deal. The whole wellness thing. This was completely unregulated. I mean, in the
Yes.
United States, they had people selling things to girls saying, hey, just take this and you'll lose weight. And there was sand in it,
Yeah.
or like little shards of glass and stuff like that. I mean,
You'll lose weight,
that
you're gonna
bad,
bleed out.
right? So, I mean, and the other thing is that natural is not always safe. Arsenic's
No.
natural.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? No, but there are certain things there are certain natural products that counteract with certain pharmaceuticals in ways.
You eat enough almonds and you have cyanide.
Yeah. That's like the basic one is, right? Like if you're taking a garlic supplement, but you're already on blood thinners, you might not want to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So
read the fine print is what it boils down to.
yeah.
Read
So
the
then,
fine print.
yeah. So I mean, remember, just because it's natural doesn't mean that it can't be dangerous.
Correct. Well, and I love when people say, I don't like all those chemicals. I'm sorry.
Everything's chemical.
Everything. And I was having a conversation last summer with a gentleman I know who has his PhD in chemistry. He taught it for years at the university level. And I said, when people say that, I want to shake them and go, you're being stupid. Maybe because you're ignorant to the facts. So let me give you the facts right now. Everything is chemicals. Everything. Everything. No, this is all natural. Yes. And those are naturally occurring chemicals. What? I thought, no. Chemicals are in everything. Everything.
Mm-hmm. Trust me, I live with a science who loves to talk about chemicals, and there's literally an infinite number of subjects to speak about.
I just want 100% free range organic pickles. What?
Yeah.
That was a line from This Hour Has 22 Minutes.
Trust me, after 12 years of living with my beaver sweetie, I know more about chemistry than I ever intended to know in my entire
Well,
I stopped after grade 11, Cam, man. I knew I wasn't going to be a scientist. I didn't have it.
it was not. It was not. I didn't
It was not
understand
in
it.
the cards.
I didn't understand. I have a better understanding of it now, but I had to learn it on my own. They didn't teach it to me in a way that I could learn it.
I guess
Right?
I can understand. Again, I can understand. It was ironic that in my work, I was always working in science connected fields and then doing comms for it because I have no scientific background. But it's like I'm fascinated by it and I'm interested in it like this. But it's like we're in biology. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to cut that frog. I'm sorry. That's just not happening. So it's like, well, there goes my career as a surgeon. So that's right. So, there's a reason I was a dancer. Let's put it that way.
Do I look pretty? Oh, so pretty.
And gay. And hey. All right, kids.
What a
Test.
gay. What do gay horses eat? Hey.
Hey.
Sorry, that I always thought that was funny.
I love that. You know what? I saw a stand-up comedian once say like this: there should be a day on the calendar like this where every straight man gets to be camp for the full day.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of them
Has
would enjoy it.
because it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Knowledge you have no idea.
But I would love that. I would love to be, ironically, the straight man in the room
Well,
with a whole bunch of straight men camping it up.
I was talking with somebody one day, and I did the over the top, flamboyantly gay voice, and he goes, "You do that surprisingly, frighteningly, all too well." I go, "Okay, it's because I can do voices." What do you mean? I'll tell you what, there, boy, look at this now. And I went into all these different accents. He goes, "Oh." Like,
Yeah, indeed. All right, kids and cubs. Wow. Okay, there's some stuff. Mainly.
Lori, my husband doesn't want anything out of a can because it has too many chemicals, but he's just fine with gravy out of a pouch. Go figure. That's a good one, Lori. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Appreciate that one.
It's cheese in a can.
Felix Catnip. I'd love to be a gay man for a day. For once, I wouldn't have to pay for dinner on the first date.
See? See? Unless you're the top.
Well,
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I did see a TikTok about a fella who he was, I don't know where he bumped into this fella and they struck up a conversation and he says, "Hey, I really enjoy talking with you." He goes, "I really enjoy talking with you." He goes, "Hey, do you want to go to the Knicks game on Friday?" He goes, "I got tickets." He goes, "Yeah, that'd be wonderful." So he swings by, picks him up. They drive to the game. They get to the game. Courtside seats. They're right on the floor, sitting beside the team. And he's like, "Holy shit." They go out for dinner. The guy picks up the tab for everything. And he's like, "Did I just go on a date?" Because I'm not gay, but I could get used to this. I'm like, yeah. Well, and this is the thing that I try and suggest every now and then. And in my case, we're a 50-50 split, Bridget and myself.
Yep.
Oftentimes, maybe 60-40, because she'll pick up the tab more often because she's has the means to do it, and I don't right now, obviously. But I'd say 50-50, 60-40, 60 being her. Do you know how wonderful that feels? Because guys don't get to experience that very much today. We just don't. I love the women who are super staunch feminists who believe in equality but don't want to pay for shit. Love being a sarcastic word there. You want equality. I want equality too. But you do realize that equality means some things you're not going to like. Some things you're going to have to do for equality that you don't care for. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to help bake the cake.
Yeah. So Yeah,
I'm really paraphrasing here. I don't want to go off on an hour-long diatribe because I could, but I 100% want equality.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. I absolutely do. But some people fail to realize that. What
You share
do
the
you mean?
good and the bad.
Yeah, you mean I gotta pay for half this shit? Well, you said you wanted equality.
Yeah. With and I get it too, because it's the same thing. Like even like just a couple, right? Sometimes you've just been together so long that you just like, y- you're going Dutch on everything all the time, right? It's
Yeah.
just coming from the family account. It's like, it's, that's why, my Beaver Sweet and I, even it's 12 years later, we still do date night
Yeah.
because I keep on reminding him, you still need to work for this. This doesn't just happen. It's like,
Tabby G.
don't get me wrong, I'm not going anywhere, but you still need to work for this.
Because for both of you, I have always preferred to pay my own way. Pardon me. And generalized statements like this are bothersome. And I agree, Tabby. I agree with what you're saying. That's why I said we don't have time to get into a full discussion on that. Maybe we'll do a show about it someday. Bring in some guests who can really expound on it better than I can, and give examples of things. And the guests I'm referring to would be women I want to bring on the show, so that we could have have 2 women guests. So there's 2 guys, 2 women, and then we can actually have that conversation. But that won't be today.
But a basic one, for example, like this, when they're talking about men's issues, right? Family law, divorce, and custody, right? Things are getting better now, I guess. But there was a time where it was just automatic. The conventional thinking is the child is always better with the mother, period, and the father doesn't really matter.
And
Right?
that's
So,
not.
like I said, and it's not like that anymore. I mean, like, or men taking when we were doing the maternity leave laws, it's like, oh, wait a minute, no, it has to be parental leave. Because so there are ways that we are still conditioned to think
Right.
based on where we come from. Like I said, but in terms of like just the concept of if we're removing just the gender roles and whatnot like this, it's just nice to be treated, and
It is.
men aren't often, so it feels nice, and that's the one advantage, at least as a gay guy. It's like when you're 2, like as guys, like this, and well, and you still do date nights. Well, you're a guy that gets treated now and then. I have to say, as someone, and my Beaver Sweetie treats me very well when he treats. Um, uh, it provokes a warm fuzzy.
Oh yes.
I gotta say, yeah.
Well, I mean,
More men should experience it. It's nice.
we have a date night once a week, and things have changed a little bit on how we can go about doing that because funds are low.
Yeah.
Right? So we find cheaper things to do, like
but it's the intentionality.
Go for a nice long walk. Stop, have a cup of coffee somewhere.
Right.
Go meet up with some people at somebody's house. Well, you get what I'm trying to say here.
Yep.
I'm failing miserably. Shall we move on, sir? Because I went way off topic there.
Okay, let's dig up. All right. To budget or not to budget? That is the very curious question. Tongues are wagging, man. They just are. With regards to this. I see. I did not include.
No, you don't have the clip.
The link there. Okay.
You got timestamps.
I got the timestamps, but not the link. That's okay. I will send that to you. I just noticed that myself.
Just put it in the private chat, and I'll be able to do it that way. I was about to suggest. So when we get to this section, you have all these timestamps and great.
Yes,
but I don't have anything to show. There's no. Yeah. Okay. At 49-minute mark, let's look at this.
Yeah. I'm right with you. I got you. I noticed. I saw.
Sometimes this happens, folks.
It's like,
he sends an outline for the show, and I try and follow it as best as we can, which is why I said we got way off topic there, and that was my fault. But sometimes even the outline is there, and that's great, but it's not going to let me do anything because I don't have anything to show.
Yes. Oops.
That was one of those instances.
The last little bit that we wanted to mention also, because Terrebonne, again, et c'est pas fini, et ça
Yeah, there's
continue.
five votes that have been returned to sender.
It's, yeah, like we suspected. It seems that there are more, and
Yeah.
Yves-François Blanchet wants an outright just run another one.
Well,
Uh,
yes, so the recount is done, final, put to bed. I'm like,
yes.
okay, but I have an issue with their votes not counting. That is wrong. That
Yeah.
is
Now, it would
they
seem
may
that
have voted
Elections
for
Canada,
block.
yeah, it seems that Elections Canada doesn't have a mechanism in law after a
Right.
judicial recount to order anything more. So this is not
Correct.
Elections Canada stonewalling or whatnot. It's just the way that the
No,
law
no.
is written, because usually a
Yes.
judicial recounts, nobody planned for this
Yes.
in error
Oversight,
on a
maybe
mailing level in the
we
law.
gotta look at things
Yeah.
and augment the reality to make it fit the situation.
Yeah.
So what will
the
happen
Bloc
in
is
this
going to take
instance?
this to court.
Yes. Good. And I want them to, because
Yes.
again, we have to have integrity in our system. Every vote has to count. Like, I mean, currently the Liberal candidate won by one vote. Now there's 5 votes that were returned to sender and never counted. One of them we know for sure. She said she had voted for Bloc, which would have made it a tie. But there's 4 other votes, or 5 other? Was there 4 or 5 other that were returned, and we don't know who they voted for.
Yeah.
So maybe they all went to the Bloc. So the Bloc would be the leader, would be the member of parliament for that riding of Terrebonne. We don't know. So how do they fix this? Probably just have a runoff election.
Well, so yeah, because
Which
if there was just one,
that's expensive.
yeah, if there was just one, they could have done the thing. Okay, well, we counted in. Now we got a tie. We let the chief returning officer put it. Mr. Grizzly, I'm sending you another timestamp because I found something with Yves-François Blanchet specifically with that. It's a different type of feed. It's not YouTube, so there might be some commercials before on it.
No, it's
so
CBC, so it should be okay.
Yeah. So it would be that. Now, if there are 5, right, that's more. Now, again, if the 5 are still in the envelopes and the envelopes are still sealed, they could take those 5, just open and count them, and then see what happens. And again, if there's a tie after that, it could be the chief electoral officer. If some of them had them returned and they disposed of the envelope or something, that might be harder. Like I'm not sure if all 5 still have their envelopes and all that kind of stuff, right? But yes, apparently there are 5. Or, like I said, it could just be we're running a new one at this point. The thing with running a new one that could be interesting, however, is like now that we know the results, right, and the Bloc didn't do so well, and the Liberals need that. Would that create extra motivation for people to? It seemed my impression is that would naturally advantage the Liberal candidate, given that they're so close to the majority and that, right? So I'm not sure that a runoff would actually be in the best interest of the Bloc politically, if we're talking about just politically.
Correct.
But if we're talking about respecting democracy, we might just have
yes.
to do a runoff. That might be the way
if
to
that's
go.
what we have to do. That's what we have to do. But I would prefer they just count the votes. Because another election is a pain in the butt for everybody, and it's expensive and costs a lot of taxpayer dollars. Just count the votes.
Yeah,
That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Again, after judicial review, the books are closed, so I get that. There's no mechanism for Elections Canada to just say, well, we're just going to count them and apply them. So
yeah.
here's
So
the clip.
so this is not a court case in the sense that somebody did us wrong. This is a court case, and like this is a very extraordinary situation. So we need to appeal to you for extraordinary remedy.
When did you speak with Prime Minister Carney, and how concerned are you about misinformation circulating about this riding?
Do not give a damn about misinformation. The situation is quite clear. The judge has established that the Bloc Québécois would have lost the riding by 1 vote. The vote appeared in the hands of a citizen in a very clear fashion, and in that situation, the law requires the election to be done all over again in the riding of Terrebonne. This is what we expect. But since I don't know what's the name in English of Election Canada, but since they cannot by themselves ask for the election to be repeated, we have to bring this situation in front of a judge in a court in order to do the election all over again.
Do you think that sets a precedent that you won't accept official election results from Elections Canada and you're not willing to listen to the vote of the people when your party doesn't win?
I'm not getting into that. I'm sorry to rain on the spectacular parade, but this is not my mindset. There's a law. It appears clear. We have a case. We go forward because we want this election to be held properly, and that's it.
You just said in both languages that you want the law to apply. Now, Elections Canada has said that the result of a judicial recount is final. And you cannot challenge a judicial recount. So does the Elections Act need to be changed? Well, we can challenge the result of the election based on our process, not on the basis of a judicial recount, but on the basis of the fact that one ballot was not counted, which is an irregularity. If Elections Canada says it has no jurisdiction to hold the election again, well, they'll do whatever they want, and we will do what we have to do. I'm not thinking about that for now. I'm putting this in the hands of the justice process, and we will follow that with a great deal of interest, but not necessarily publicly.
What is the legal advice that you've been getting that makes you feel like you have a basis to make this contestation before a superior court?
All I just told you.
Have you spoken
That's what I said.
No,
I will choose the answer.
But my colleague also just said that the law is the law, and it says that the law is there. Why do you think that you have a basis? What is the legal advice you're getting on this?
I have a legal advice by a lawyer, and we are going forward because the law is clear. It is not within the premise of Election Canada. Too bad for them. There are options. We are taking options now.
Okay, let's stop that for a second. That question from that journalist.
Mhm.
This is a journalist that's not understanding what's going on here.
Clearly.
There is
And-
the opportunity to contest the judicial recount. There
Mhm.
is nothing. There is the fact that there was an irregularity. An irregularity with the vote is not the same thing as something wrong with the vote count. When there is an irregularity to the vote, yes, clearly there can be other legal mechanisms. I'm not sure why that journalist is not understanding the distinction here.
I don't
Also,
know either.
it seems that the 5 other ballots, I was reading while the clip was going on, the other 5 ballots had been sent, but because it had the wrong postal code, there was a delay. But there, the post office found a way to still get it to the right place. Because during an election, what happens is, right, there's a lot of mail that goes to one spot all at one time. So often if there's a mistake, whatnot, people will notice that, oh, that's there, and they'll just get it there anyway. So one was returned to the sender. The other 5 actually got there, but they got there past the deadline. So it would be looking at the initial stamp date that it got, because that's when they noticed it. And then if it took too long from that point on, they could backtrack and say when it normally would have been there. And if it would have been there on time, they could probably count that. So that's another decision the judge can make. Say, well, if they are post dated by this date and time, then they should have arrived on time under normal situations, and therefore we will count them. That could be a decision that's made rather than having a whole other election. But those ones are actually in the possession of Elections Canada now. They haven't been returned home, so you know that haven't been opened. The vote is the integrity of the vote itself. So they could be opened and counted if a judge makes a determination that they would have arrived on time.
Right. Well, in the statement here from Andre Cesar, I hope I said your name correctly. Canada Post should have figured it out. Right city, place, just last 3 numbers wrong. I know for a fact a wrong postal code doesn't mean Canada Post can't figure it out.
Exactly. So it seems in 5 cases they did.
Yeah, they did. Now sometimes things fall through the cracks because you got to remember the mail is sorted by machines. It's not done by hand anymore. And then it shows up into a bag and it goes into a truck, and then the guy goes out on his route and delivers the mail. I get stuff delivered to me all the time that's wrong. Like not just the wrong apartment building, but literally the wrong building. That happens. It's the same postal code.
Mm-hmm.
It should have went to 310. It didn't, and ended up at my place.
Yeah,
So
I get a lot of that in my condo.
it happens.
It's like 5:30. No, this is 5. It's like the
And
address is wrong by
the mail carrier has a lot of work to do. So what they're doing is they're just looking for the apartment number or the unit number.
They're throwing it in the boxes. Yeah.
Because they have to rely that what's placed in their bag to be delivered to that address is correct.
Yep.
They don't have time to read it. They're too busy.
I know. God, we would never get the mail if they had to read everyone specifically. It's like
nothing would get delivered.
It's like,
did you want to continue with the clip, or are we good? Are we good?
We should finish with
About a
the
minute and a
with
half
the luck thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that
And I agree
journalist thing was like sort of like, wait a minute, like this. Listen, we often criticize politicians for poor answers like this, but journalists, come on, man, you got to up your game on the questions.
And again, I am in 100% agreement with him.
Yep.
Mr. Blanchet, he's correct.
He's correct here.
And not to mention the fact that if you didn't count a vote because the mail carrier screwed it up, that the delivery system failed, and it showed up past the date. Well, that's, it shows the postmark of when it was sent.
Mm-hmm.
Got sent back and then forwarded. It should be counted, period.
Mm-hmm.
Every vote that gets cast, every ballot should be counted, period, end of story. And if again, you sent a mail in and it gets sent back to you because they had the wrong postal code, they had the wrong postal code, not you.
Mm-hmm.
That's on
That's
them.
what I mean. It's like none of these things are through any fault of the voter.
Correct. So that needs to be rectified.
Yep.
And look, if they have to have a runoff election for Terrebonne, I'm not in love with that idea because of the time and expense involved. But if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen. I would prefer they just, pardon?
You got to make it right if that's the case.
You got to make it right. I would prefer that they just count the ballots that they have.
Well, like I said, because listen, I'm not a judge, I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, but the chain of custody has been maintained, and we know that the secrecy of the ballots has been maintained. So I could see, if I were a judge and I'm like weighing all the options, well, if I'm looking at the time step it would have been, then just count the vote. I'm here right now. Just open the vote. Let's count, or let's get all the. I'm here right now. Let's get all the teams, the returning officer, and everybody like that. That's allowed to be there from all the other parties to observer like this, and then open them. But if there's something, if there's a chain of custody issue or something like that, or this, and you could still end up. I mean, there's 5, right? Well, 5. I guess with her it would be 6. So I guess you wouldn't have a tie then in that case. But if there were, or let's say one of them is invalid, right? Or the ballot spoiled or something like that. So I mean, you could still count them and still end up with a tie.
Yes.
Right, as well. So the counting them
runoff
doesn't necessarily.
election.
Yeah, and then again, it could go to the chief electoral officer like this. And if it went to that, well, then if the chief electoral officer decides, well, it's liberal, then the bloc could turn around and says, no, we absolutely need a runoff, and then we'll. So I mean, this could go on for a while yet, right? There are many options, but I would assume that a judge, if the chain of custody is all there and everything would be there, that their first instinct would be to just count the votes. If they could be determined that they would have arrived on time, there's why go through all this extra process when you can just count the votes.
When do you intend to initiate that challenge? Well, as soon as the lawyer is ready. Yes, we've presented our request. Well, I do understand that in a sense, because obviously we have to avoid any institution related to democracy and voting. Well, that kind of institution has to be independent. So now I have doubts as to whether everyone would like to see a new election, but they cannot give the answer they've already given.
J'ai 2 oreilles, puis vous êtes trop nombreux pour mes 2 oreilles.
Sorry. in 2011, there is this legal precedent where the Liberals went all the way to Supreme Court against the Conservatives, and the Supreme Court ended up upholding the Conservative win in that case. So I guess I'm just wondering, in your legal advice, did this come up, and why do you think you do have a precedent to go forward here?
You will have to be patient about that kind of questions. There will be a person in the courtroom that will answer all of that in front of a judge, and I will not.
Okay. So two things there. That last question, again, also a little incomplete or disingenuous, because that question is based on a logical fallacy. We have two situations that had one thing in common, and therefore they must be the same in every. The law decided that in this case because these two things had in common. Well, there are other things, right? I'm pretty sure in the other case, the reason why the vote was contested and all that type of stuff wasn't because there was an error on Election Canada part with the label.
Correct.
Right. So again, you can't say, well, somebody contested once and they upheld it. So like, why are you doing this? Because they're just going to upheld. No, the details
Each
of
case
the
is
case.
unique and different. Yeah.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
all different.
So
There's no two snowflakes alike.
yeah, exactly. So that's a question based on, you have big ears, an elephant has big ears, therefore you are an elephant.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
clearly I see you are not
logical
an elephant,
fallacy.
you are a human. Like this. Yeah, but you both have big ears, so you must be the same thing. No. Conservatives do that a lot in their argumentation. These two things have one thing in common, so they are the same in all respects.
No,
They
they
often do
aren't.
that. Yes,
No, they aren't.
that's called sophistry, if you've studied philosophy.
Yes, and what I find interesting about that is
Ooh,
that was weird. What I find interesting about that is how they tend to do these two things are the same, so they're identical. You know, like you just said, an elephant has ears, you have ears, therefore you're an elephant. I'm like, except when it comes to things like Alberta separation, in which case then they throw out all of the truth, all of the logic, all of the things that are supposed to be there because it doesn't fit their narrative.
Yep, exactly. So again, we need better questions. And then the part where I was giggling was Monsieur Blanchet going, hey guys, I've got 2 ears and there are a lot of yes. So you got with your questions. They're all at the same time. But yes, exactly. Listen, this is why we go to a judge.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why did you like Mr. Blanchet says, well, just you're gonna have to be patient for that answer because there's a judge that's gonna look at that. It's like, don't ask me to tell you. It's like it's like, why would Yves-François Blanchet go like this, consult a lawyer, and the lawyer say, well, there was a time where this happened, and well, the results still stayed the same. Like this. Oh well, gee, I guess. Right? It's like, well, what were the details of the case? Was it, oh well, ours are different. We have this. Well, you don't just like, well, there was another time where something was contested and it went in favor of the. Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I'll just give up now. it's like nobody's gonna do that. My God, I've seen people haggle over the price of a salad more vigorously, right? So, this is the right thing. This is the right thing. It has to be done. Election integrity matters, even if it's not going to make the Bloc Québécois the official opposition. It's not going to be, yeah, it's not the point. The point is that
It's
we
not the
hold
point.
343 individual elections, and one of the 343 elections has a major irregularity that was the fault of the organization that organized the election.
So fix it. Fix it.
Fix it.
That's simple. It's not rocket surgery. Fix it.
Fix it. Like, there's only one solution. Fix it. Right? So how we fix it, whatnot, okay, that goes like, but you fix it. You don't let that stand. You don't go, oh, well. Right? Especially when you can. And in this case, you can. The ballots are there. Right? They just need to be opened.
I've got
All
a
right.
very anxious puppy dog here this morning.
Ooh.
Come here.
Hello,
Come here,
Mademoiselle Lola.
She's just sitting there talking to me. Come here. Come here. Come here and say hi to everybody. Come here and say hi to
girl.
everybody.
Aw, she's so lovely. I need to show up and give her pets at some point there. I miss her. All
She's a
right.
special gal.
She is a special gal indeed. She love on four legs.
I'm gonna have to exit shortly
Yep.
because she's really wound up this morning.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know why, but she's just really wound up. So
She must just really have
I,
to go.
yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yep.
So I'm gonna sorry. Sorry, Lola. There. Lola, sweetheart. Oh, careful. Yeah, I got to take my leave, folks. Thanks for joining us on this Friday. Ouch. Ow. Yeah. Yeah. I've got to take my leave. Lola needs to go out, desperately needs to go out. I got a number of things I have to get accomplished today as well. I got a very busy day ahead. And hopefully I can get, if I can get 75% done, I'd be happy. If I can get 50% done, I'd be pleased.
All right.
One very important thing has to get done that I talked to you about earlier. I have to get on that right away. It needs to be taken care of. And hopefully things will pan out in the direction that I'm hoping they will go. But until that time, I will bid you all adieu. Have yourselves a wonderful long weekend. Are you available Monday, or did you want to? What do you want to do for Monday?
I'll have to get back to you because tomorrow's
You're going out of town?
Sweetie's birthday. So
Oh, okay.
we're going to see
Okay.
family. So I'm not exactly
Okay, I
sure
figured as
when
much.
we'll be back, stuff like that. But yeah, we'll figure out for Monday.
Yeah, if we have to, maybe we can record something later today to put up for Monday if live is not an option. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have a meeting at 11 on Monday, so trying to juggle my morning. If we did a pre-record, I'd be really fine with that.
Okay, I'll try and see if I can. Yep, we can do that. All right,
folks, you take care. Have yourselves a wonderful May 2-4 long weekend on the 19th, and I will. I'll see you soon.
All right. Oh, I love to see him smiling and happy and optimistic and all that good stuff. Yes. I saw earlier in the chat, tell me if I am wrong, but Kit Mr. Jim, do you perhaps have some maybe positive news coming too? Because I know that you have been on the job hunt for a while. I saw your comment there in the chat the other day saying how long it's been. I knew it had been a while, but I hadn't realized it had been that long. So, and then I saw something go by earlier that seemed to say indicate that there was maybe some potential for good news. So, if you do, please do let us know because I would definitely love. I like it when good things happen to the kids. Let's put it that way. All right. So here we go. Budget. As a communications person, I gotta tell you, um, I kind of agree with the kind of vibe that's going on. I am confused about why it is this government has made this decision to not seemingly not present a budget in the spring session or the fall session. Now, the spring session I can understand, right? It is a pretty damn quick turnaround. Um, but the fall one, I'm not understanding why we're getting just a statement and why we're not getting budget, why we're making that choice. I'm sure there is a reason. It would probably be a good idea for the prime minister to come up to a mic at some point very, very soon and make clear what his thinking on this is, and why. But at the current moment, I'm not really getting it. The only thing I can specifically think of is that he really wants it to be a full budget document. And even though there was some work that was clearly started on the budget before, and even though and during the election, the Department of Finance and whatnot looks at the various parties and what they're saying like this and starts planning for either of them and that type of stuff and starts doing some work, right? So that they can hit the ground running a little bit. So it's not like they're starting from exactly zero, but then again, if Prime Minister Carney plans to be particularly hands-on on this and wants to start the budget process from zero, then yes, that would be trickier if he wants to consult because we're doing a major transformation, if he wants to consult a little more broadly before putting it out, one could understand that. Um, it's not that having a budget is absolutely necessary. We didn't have one, I think, in 2019. I think it was something like 500 and something days. We didn't have a budget, but then we had like COVID and that type of stuff. Because you can do ways and means and measures and all that type of stuff, and you could essentially make everything a money bill and attach it like this, and not necessarily have a budget. But a budget is kind of helpful in this sense. So there's a lot of talk about like what does this mean? Is this a situation where we're not going to hear about the full plan really for months and months and months until the spring? Because that seems slightly odd as a way of going about things. Um, at the dangerous part here with regard to all of this is that that a communications vacuum with regard to finances would be created. Now, in one sense, that's one would say, well, we don't really have to worry about that, or Prime Minister Carney doesn't really have to worry about that, because the issue on which he ran and whatnot is Trump, right? And everything that falls from that. And because the number one, other than physical annexation, but hobbling the Canadian economy to the point where we would be so weak that a hostile corporate takeover would be the path to get there, is what we're trying to avoid. I cannot foresee a situation in which the economy or something economic would not always be being discussed, even though there isn't a budget. So, in that sense, there might not be a vacuum, but when how do I put this, as I mentioned yesterday, does introduce noise, right? Because it creates a situation for all the opposition parties to question why is this not being done? Why are we doing this in an unconventional way? And then how would I put it? Ascribe motive and intent to the fact that this has not occurred, right? This is a sign that he doesn't really care. This is a sign that he's not taking it seriously. This was a sign that he was a big talker more than anything else. Um, all the things. And some of the party leaders have already laid groundwork to that effect, right? If you remember in the debates, Blanchet was very much along the lines, you say you're a big this and a big that, but I've seen no evidence of that yet. Um, you have the conservatives, of course. Well, they jump on absolutely everything, right? I mean, their whole thing right now. I'm sorry, I'm trying to line up something and I'm having some trouble here with the sound. Um, their whole thing is like everything's broken, right? Cabinet is broken, the budget's broken, everything's broken, and they're already starting down that path. So you're, like I said, you're wondering why a party would create this type of target for itself. Now, again, could be some 3 or 4 DHS, right? Okay, fine, we'll do it. We won't do it. We won't do it. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine, we'll do it. Boom, and they drop it, and it's better than expected or something. But the plan for the moment appears to be some ways and means type stuff or specific legislation, like, for example, the tax cut legislation and all the stuff on internal trade that the federal government's portion of it that it can do by July 1st. There might be 1 or 2 other sort of legislative things there, but the House will operate until sometime end of June and then go. So between now and end of June, yeah, to have a full budget probably would not be possible. But nobody is really understanding why in September, when we're coming back, it's going to be a fall economic statement rather than a full budget. Now, fall economic statements vary, right? Some can just give you an update of stuff, and then some can be more like mini budgets. And we've seen a wide variety of those over the past few years here in Canada. So, I mean, we could get a fall economic statement that's extremely detailed, and that would solve the issue. But we are also in a situation where this government, when the House resumes very shortly, will essentially be asking the members to vote on a tax cut that affects the budget by $5 to $6 billion a year without having had an update for a while now, formal one, on the fiscal picture. Um, so that is a situation that communications wise, in standard conventional thinking, would be undesirable. And it's something that some people would like to try to avoid in normal course. This is not happening this time. So again, given that Mark Carney is one of the brightest financial minds out there, I have no reason to suspect that there is not a logical, rational reason behind this that actually does make sense. But on the comms part, on the communications part, that does not seem to have been put into the public sphere, into the public domain clearly enough yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen. It will. Now, of course, if we're going to be fair, right? Cabinet just announced first, interviews after the cabinet. There hasn't been like the full meeting yet, whatnot. People are saying what they say. There's probably going to be a little bit of message, lack of discipline and that type of stuff. And, for the first few days until, people find a groove, because you're a freshly ministered minister and you're being asked like a question point blank as if you had been in the file for whatnot. And, you're trying to get through it. But in certain instances, like the case of Mr. Guilbeault, when he's like talking about the pipelines, and it's like, well, there's not really a case in trying to like tamper that down, as to try to create the impression that there's not going to be one, while you have the prime minister on the very same day in an interview saying, well, yes, we're going to need pipelines, and if we're going to be an energy superpower, we're going to need more than one. Well, that's two direct contradictory statements here, and might have been a situation where Mr. Guilbeault might have been better to just keep walking than trying to answer that question, or to give a boilerplate. Well, we'll see. Right? So the situation is changing rapidly. We have to take a look at it, and because we'll be able to get back to you to that. That's when the prime minister has more direction, right? But he went in and tried to make a case. That wasn't helpful. This one with the budget could be helpful, but we don't know. We don't know. So here I've got a little bit of it's Sachi Curl from the Angus Reid Institute, talking a little bit about sort of the vacuum of communication. And this is sort of like conventional communications thinking here, and this is why this decision is striking everybody as odd. And we'll be following it up. There's her, and then there'll be Cameron Ahmad, I believe, who used to work for the Trudeau government in a communications capacity, if I'm not mistaken here. So let's see what it is that they have to say. Just going to make sure here that the screen is being shared. There you go. That's the good one. And there's volume. All right, here we go.
Like Shachi, I look at this as in two ways. Right, one is the fiscal assumptions the election was run under, they don't apply anymore, right? They had a baseline from the parliamentary budget officer. Everybody used it. It was not valid even during the campaign. No one was being dishonest, but things just changed dramatically. And a budget, it also gives form to your agenda, which, going back to the message.
I'm Darian, and I'm a technician at Speedy Glass. It's time to replace that cracked windshield before getting on the road this summer. At Speedy Glass, we'll install your new windshield, recalibrate your front camera, and even submit your insurance claim. Just book online at speedyglass.ca.
And now the computer is not working to let me.
Challenges, like a budget will, you have something to follow. Maybe they can't get a budget done by next month. I get that, but you can update the deficit projections, the economic forecast. You can give us those things, right?
Yeah, if you can't find your budget under the table or in the closet, you can certainly pull out a spring economic update instead. This is less about the, from a public opinion standpoint, this is less about the product of a budget. On any given day, if I go into anybody, any respondent anywhere, it's like, could you tell us exactly what was in the last provincial or federal budget? There's not a lot of specific knowledge there. This is more about the vacuum of communication at a time when Canadians are already at a 10. They're way up here in terms of economic anxiety. And not having a budget takes away this government's or any government's ability to communicate, reassure, forward project and say, look, there is a plan, it exists, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this.
The throne speech will do some of that.
The throne speeches, the king is going to read it and we're all going to be talking about royalty again. To your point, it's not the specifics. And government management in the political world abhors an information vacuum. And are we really to hear Minister Champagne and others say, yeah, we're basically going to go quiet for the better part of June, July, August into September, where the mood could potentially sour very quickly. This could be a very short honeymoon, and the compounding of we don't have a ton to say is not a safe place for any government to be.
Well, look, we will have a First Ministers meeting June 2nd in Saskatoon, then the G7 is happening in the middle of the month. Donald Trump will be here. So I think there's going to be, from a
spending perspective, from an economic management perspective.
Yes, maybe not. But I mean, the Trump visit, that could tell us a lot about where the direction of this thing is going. So Cameron, on that, the throne speeches give a direction. They often don't give specifics. So the communication style of Prime Minister Carney is very economical and blunt, versus sort of aspirational and flowery in a lot of cases. So I don't know if they get more specific in the throne speech, but what do you make of this? We might be punting a budget to 2026. The promise is for a fall economic statement, not necessarily a budget. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that is all speculation. First of all, I agree with Andrew that the strategy to not announce a budget and hold it off until the fall is difficult. Is difficult to understand. The government is going to take some hits. It is certainly a fair debate to have, and it's absolutely fair for the opposition to bring it up and to pressure them on it. At the same time, I will say that the government was elected to take very strong and quick action on the economy on two big fronts. One, on the cost of living, rise in cost of living that millions of Canadians are feeling, and two, on our relationship with the United States and our position as a trading partner vis-a-vis them and the rest of the world. On those two fronts, I don't think by any stretch the government is intending to create a vacuum or to be quiet, as you just pointed out, right? First of all, they're going to introduce a bill they've already talked about their first action being a middle-class tax cut, which will apply to millions of people. They are seeking to eliminate trade barriers between all provinces and territories by Canada Day. As you pointed out, the G7 is happening, where our biggest trading partners and allies are going to be in Canada discussing the path forward and how we deal with the trade war. And the relationship with the United States, cementing the visit that he had at the White House just a few days ago, that will occupy an enormous amount of their attention and time, rightly so, but also in the public conversation throughout the summer. So I think the economy will remain the focus. It is directly linked to what they campaigned on and why people voted for them.
Right.
And I understand the questions around the budget, though.
Kate?
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's the main thing, right? Where the vacuum. So both Sachi Curl and both Cameron Ahmed are right here in the sense that, yes, these are the normal concerns, what a vacuum is. And if the Conservatives, it creates an opportunity for the Conservatives to just beat the drum constantly, but there's no budget, but there's no budget. When's the budget coming? When's the budget coming? Right? Uh, After a while, when you get to repeat a message that long, it sticks. That's what we learned with carbon tax, right? So I'm not sure. Not, like I said, I hope that there's a method behind the madness here. Yes, but there needs to be more because right now, even like the liberal pundit on this panel says, yeah, this is strange and, they're going to take hits. Yes, and they will. So I'm not sure why uh, the prime minister and the party would willingly choose to take these hits. But it's a curious decision. There are people making comments, it's like, I know you want to get away from Trudeau, but you don't have to get away that far. Say that you're not like him. But yeah, it's weird. There's some weirdness there with regard to that, and I don't understand the decision. I can't purport to say that I do. And yesterday, of course, we had a contrast because in Ontario they did drop their budget. So we have one province that's dropping a budget while the federal government is announcing that there might not be one for a while. A lot of people are making comparisons back down to 2008 when Carney was working for the Department of Finance, and we had the financial crash in around 2008 later on. And it seems that then I think there was a government that came into place. Thinking there was a need to budget. I can't remember the specific details off the top of my head. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry. But that budget process had to be done relatively quickly, and I believe that the House started to sit again on February 6th, and on May 2nd, there was a budget. So it is possible to do it in that short of time. But I think we also remember that when we got the fall economic statement, like that budget did not survive, right? Because that was pre-crash, and then the crash happened in 2008, and then we got that fall economic statement where Mr. Flaherty missed the projection first by about $30-something billion, and then had to revise it, saying, "Oops, I'm going to miss it by 50." So, while a lot of people are saying, it can be done that quickly, it wasn't a particularly good budget, if we're being honest. So that's one of the things that we're talking about here. We're also, with regard to 2008, how would I put it? As a recession or a crash or type thing, there are some economic indicators, leading economic indicators that come, and then they see them, right? So they were able. You can plan somewhat for that, but in this case, given that we have basically, for all intents and purposes, I hope I'm using this imagery right, but a random particle in the form of Trump who can upend anything on any given day. I mean, Doug Ford tabled a budget. How long it will survive? Trump just has to wake up like this morning and turn around and say, "You know what? I'm changing the auto things like this." Boom, and there goes the budget, right? So, how much worth they actually have at some point with regard to looking for the future at this moment, considering this particular set of circumstances, is a little bit doubtful. But the picture of the state of the finances, however, is kind of rather important. So I would assume that the fall economic statement would probably have a very, very clear picture on that. If the Liberals were saying something like, well, they're still counting the votes, and we're changing the accounting to show capital and operational expenses. These will be, and we're talking about making the first steps in a major transformation of our economy. So, it's going to take a little longer to get this right as a first budget, right? Mark Carney could turn around and says, you know, I'm a very serious financial person. I'm not going to present half a budget or just something to get it done under the wire. I'm going to present a full budget, and it will be ready when it's ready, and it will be a serious document, right? You can say that. That doesn't seem to be the main line right now out in the liberal sphere. So I'm not, again, a little confused as to why that is. You have some reaction from the conservatives when you're talking about Pierre, who's apparently learning and growing to show that he can change, basically saying that a lack of budget signifies a lack of a plan. No, not really. And again, Mark Carney is plan beats no plan. That's his kind of thing. So I would not suspect that Mark Carney does not have a plan. But right now, there's no budget, and there's not going to be one for a while. And criticizing Mark Carney for a lack of a plan for when you're the guy that was not able to present a proper platform with proper costing. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's just not serious. So if Pierre Poilievre is engaging quickly again in attack lines that are just not serious, how much growing, how much learning? Not much right there. Other conservative people are going on political talk shows and interviews and stating things like this might generate run-ins with the Auditor General and rating agencies and the Parliamentary Budget Officer. Probably not. I mean, the Parliamentary Budget Officer probably is not going to be happy that there's no budget for him to parliamentary office with. So yeah, that's reasonable. I'm not sure that there'll be, if there was anything from the Auditor General just saying like, well, you really should be budgeting, tisk. And with regard to credit agencies, this is not the type of thing that makes them happy, but Canada's credit status and what they know of our economy to be true is pretty good, and there's probably some leeway there for us. But again, it is completely unconventional. But those types of things seem to be a little bit of fear-mongering or fear-congering at this moment. They could be considerations down the line if the process goes off the rails. But simply delaying for a bit probably wouldn't cause that much of a problem. If the budget is delayed up until next year's, like I remember, like this time next year, the full, budgets usually come in April. That would be a little that would be a little much, I think. But one could make the case that given that there's going to be a lot of transformation, he might want to have a little more in-depth consultation with various industries before putting out a fuller budget. But if that's the case, just say it. Just don't say nothing if you actually have an answer, and it will do. Right? That's sort of my thing here. So hopefully we'll be getting some clarity on that. Pierre Poilievre has also hinted that he will not oppose things reflexively, which is nice because the opposition party never should in the first place. And that is what they had been doing. One of the problems that we have, again, is that privilege motion, because privilege motions, unlike bills, which die on the order paper, privilege motions survive from session parliament to session parliament. So the Conservatives would have to lift it for stuff to be able to continue. There are some Conservatives who, again, giving interviews are indicating that the privilege motion will not return immediately. But they seem to be talking about it as a sort of Damocles that they're going to keep on holding over the head of the government. So at one point they can say, well, you know what? We don't like you anymore. You're not doing what we like enough. So we're going to introduce that privilege motion again. We're going to ask you again to surrender those documents, which, of course, by parliamentary convention, they must surrender them. But the Conservatives wish to use those documents to then give them to the RCMP for some type of investigation. And the RCMP has been explicitly on the record telling people, do not do this. So the Liberal government is not producing the documents because the RCMP says, do not do this. This will not be helpful. It could even actually hurt the case. The Conservatives are going, well, whether it would hurt the case or not, we are entitled to have these documents because we asked for it, and there's something in Parliament that says you must give them. So give them. And the Liberals know what the Conservatives want to do with it. Now, part of me says, well, you just give them the documents like this, and then the Conservatives will do what they will. But also when the Conservatives have the documents, of course, they're going to look through them, and then they're going to point to a whole bunch of stuff and create other hay. So, and if that's all they were going to do, okay, that's something that the Liberals might not like, but they would have to surrender them. But what the Conservatives are talking about is taking these documents and giving them to RCMP and saying, here's the proof that you need. And that can't, the RCMP can't use the documents acquired in that manner to do that thing. It's not aligned with the Constitution. So, and that's the thing, right? So, except you have the Conservatives asking the Liberals to do something that would enable them to do something that could, and most likely would, botch an investigation. But the Conservatives are just choosing to be super pedantic and saying, yes, but the House said that you should, so you need to supply them. And the Liberals want to prevent them. Liberals are claiming they want to prevent the Conservatives from doing that thing that they should not be doing with those documents. So therefore, they don't want to act on it, and they're taking the hit. I don't know what the way out of this is permanently. At some point, I mean, if the Conservatives are just going to take this and they're just going to hold it and say, okay, now you're not to, because the whole Conservative position, again, seems to be, Liberal Party, and this is another sign that they've changed. Liberal Party, that whole campaign that you just ran on, yeah, just fucking chuck that. Put our policies in place instead. Just disrespect the 8 million and such voters who voted for you and impose our plan on instead. Which doesn't sound to me like change or learning or growing, because, I mean, that's been this whole thing on every budget or climate policy or whatnot. It's just been, disregard your policy, implement ours instead. We'll vote for you if you implement our policy rather than yours. Then you'll get our vote. So it's not, again, it's not serious. It's not serious. Conservatives also say that they're prepared to work through the summer in order to get a budget ready. But that too is not particularly credible, because on the show many, many, many times now you've heard us talk about the Conservatives saying, oh, they're planning to hold up Parliament throughout the summer, or they're planning to hold up Parliament throughout Christmas. And then what happens? Every single time, suddenly the work just gets done at the last minute, and 2 or 3 days before session was supposed to end, session adjourns. So not only did they not stay and fight throughout the whole holidays, they left 2 or 3 days earlier than originally planned. So had they once done that, well, or twice, or had regularly done that, or followed through when they said they were going to do that, that would be credible. But there's just no credibility there. I mean, and this again from a leader who did once make his party stay all night to vote no to absolutely everything reflexively, which he says he's not going to do, while he went off to first day of Hanukkah lighting ceremonies and a big fundraiser. But he brought back McDonald's for the kids. So, I mean, this is a man that doesn't want to do the heavy lifting himself, right? Clearly. So there is no way that Conservatives under his leadership are going to stay through the summer. No way. He wants to go through the summer. He's got a campaign. He's got a by-election to win. This is not serious. The Conservatives won't oppose reflexively. won't oppose reflexively the things that they like a tax cut, like cutting GST on houses, which, by the way, I've heard another economist to turn around and say, these types of measures on that, they basically do nothing. They're basically useless. But there they go. These are things that conservatives agree with, so of course they're going to have no problem passing them. But once they get denied a couple of times, are we going to go back to that opposing reflexively, which should never be the position? And then again, criticizing other people allegedly for a lack of a plan when he himself did not have one. Because you can't criticize someone for lack of a plan when you have less of one. Again, it's not serious. So again, the conservative position, while sometimes in softer tones and things like this, when saying some things we won't oppose reflexively, which seems to say, oh yes, we intend to cooperate again, but it's not really. It's not really. So if there's some learning and growing going on within that party, I'm not exactly sure how it's happening, right? And we saw the same thing with Pierre Poilievre on the day of the cabinet. Basically it was cabinet broken. As the cabinet members were being announced, he was basically stating why each one of them was like terrible and not good, and rather than, oh well, that's an interesting choice, maybe we could work with them with this, right? It was just all negative all the time. So he's not really there, which is a shame. This is a shame. So we'll see what keeps going with this. But yeah, we are in a very unconventional situation with regard to budgeting at the federal level. At the provincial level, when we're talking about Ontario, this is from Lane Harrison from CBC. Doug Ford's new budget is awash in red ink with a $14.6 billion deficit planned for the next fiscal year, largely to deal with the economic pain of a trade war with the United States. The $232 billion budget delivers on a promise the Premier made during his re-election campaign in February to spend big on tariff relief programs. It also presents a starkly different picture of Ontario's financial future than the one he shared in the 2024 Fall Economic Statement, with a longer path to balance. Now is the time to invest in business and workers as we face this challenge. It is not the time to take our foot off the pedal building infrastructure, Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy said to reporters at Queen's Park. In the legislature, much of the finance minister's speech focused on the actions of U.S. President Donald Trump, who in a viral exchange told Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky his country did not have any cards without the United States. Quote, "Here in Ontario, we have all the cards we need," Bethlenfalvy told his fellow MPPs, referencing the province's natural resources and workforce. As recently as last fall, the province predicted a $1.5 billion deficit in this spending plan, but oops, we're down to 14.6. They promised that the deficit would be 1.5 billion before the election. Now that the election's passed, all of a sudden it's 14.6. Yeah. No wonder he went early. The budget also includes previously promised measures like a $9 billion tax deferral and a $5 billion fund for business. Tariff relief measures include the Protect Ontario account of up to $5 billion in funding that will act as an emergency funding backstop for tariff-disrupted businesses. That means, federal government, you go first. And then if there's not enough, well, we have a backstop. So that's not $5 billion. That might not be spent because if the government of Ontario decides that the federal government has done enough and that there's no need for their $5 billion, well, then that just disappears. So he gets all the hit from the announcement. He doesn't actually have to deliver the money. Tax deferrals from April to October for about 80,000 businesses, costing the province's $9 billion, a relief program modeled after one the province implemented during the pandemic. So again, deferral, which means that they're still going to have to pay the tax. It's just money that would be coming in later, unless later on it is forgiven. But at the moment, it's just a deferral. A trade-impacted communities program providing up to $40 million in grants to communities and local industries. These are communities and local industries that could be affected by tariffs and in other ways, like, for example, a community where, like, the majority of the economic activity is related to an industry that has been tariffed, and therefore, it's particularly devastating to that community. It seems to me that $40 million is not a lot in a province of 16 million people, which is the largest one. It doesn't seem like it's a lot. And $20 million in spending on new training and support in communities that experienced mass layoffs. So again, same thing, right? It's like if an auto plant shuts down, whatnot, and there's mass layoffs. Well, there's this money for spending in new training. Again, doesn't seem like a lot, 20 million, considering the number of jobs at stake. The government's path to a balanced budget has been extended by a year, in part due to the impact of American tariffs. After projecting a small surplus in 2026-2027 in the fall economic statement, the government now expects to run a nearly $8 billion deficit that year before balancing the budget in 2027-2028. That's cute. We were going to have a $1.5 billion deficit, but now it's 14.6. But don't worry, we're gonna drop. If things go south with Trump, even though we're projecting to go to 14.6 this year, because things will get so much better that it will only be 8 billion the next year, and the following year we're going to be able to balance it. Trump will still be president in 2027, 2028. But Doug Ford wants you to believe that there exists some type of reality that Trump won't throw further curveballs such that, we'll be able to balance this in 2 more years. We're basically close up a $14.6 billion deficit hole in 2 fiscal years. Sorry, not seeing it. The province has also lowered its revenue expectations for the next 5 years, as Ontario is poised to be hit particularly hard by tariffs. Quote, "When I tabled the fall economic statement, Donald Trump hadn't been elected," Bethan Falvey said. He added, "A balanced budget, quote, is on my wish list every Christmas." Yeah, that's nice. So, but that won't buy you a cup of coffee anywhere. But those aren't the only adjusted projections. Housing starts in 2025 are projected to be around 2,800 units lower than in 2024, which was already low, and job creation is expected to be cut in half. The province will be spending $16.2 billion on interest and other debt charges in 2025-26, more than the base budget for post-secondary education or justice. The drop in housing starts is another sign that the Ford government is struggling to hit its goal of getting 1.5 million homes built by 2031, which would require 100,000 housing starts per year. But all of the projections are being made in a world of constant uncertainty when it comes to what President Donald Trump may or may not do with future tariffs. If the economic situation turns out worse than expected, the deficit could be as high as $17.1 billion. The budget also shows that Ontario's total debt will rise to $489.8 billion in 2025-26. During the 2018 campaign, the Progressive Conservatives said that if Kathleen Wynne Liberal government was re-elected, it would pile onto our debt. Since the 2020, Ontario's debt has risen by about 21% under the Ford government, according to the budget. Kathleen Wynne would have been disastrous. She actually had brought our budget into balance by the time she left office. But Ontario's debt has risen by 21%. Now, of course, Ontario also had COVID to deal with, but 21% under the Ford government, with no relief in sight, and the claim that we will be back in budget balance 2 years being just not serious. Leader of the official opposition, NDP Marit Stiles, calls the document, quote, a Band-Aid budget, quote, for families wondering how they'll make ends meet this summer, for overworked healthcare or education workers, for auto workers who are worried about their livelihoods. This budget delivers little hope and no reassurance, she said. Liberal finance critic Stephanie Bowman slammed the government for failing to meet the moment. The Tories should have cut taxes to help families address the affordability crisis and the impact of the tariffs, she said. Quote, it's an understatement to say that what the finance minister delivered is underwhelming and insufficient, Bowman said. Green Party leader Mike Schreiner said the government doesn't have the fiscal capacity it should to address tariffs because of past spending decisions. Quote, "This is the government that spent $3.2 billion sending $200 checks to millionaires and billionaires." There you go. How would I put it? It is not unexpected that the budget would, for Ontario, would show that there's more bigger deficits and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's the threat. I mean, like I said, there are already jobs being lost, right? And there are already shifts being changed at the auto plants, and whatnot, just based on what's out there now. So there's no doubt to expect them to have been able to say, "Hey, we did balance this year," would have been even more not serious. But yeah, I in a world of flux and uncertainty, and where the uncertainty and the flux is just starting, to present a budget with the assumption that in 2 years from now, that starting next year and then the year after, things will be so rosy that you can wipe away 14.6 in just 2 years. I find that, again, if they can do it, great, and I'll believe it when it lasts, but I just do not. I do not see it at all. Darn. All right. I hope I can find it as well, because when I saw the comment from the Green leader, Mike Schreiner, it reminded me of something that he recently said. Here, I have it here. He came up with an idea that I think is really good, that other parties should pick up on. Now, it doesn't have to do with the budget specifically, but it has to do with regard to development and protecting our agricultural lands in the province. So so that they can be used for agriculture. So here we have Kits and Cubs, Mike Schreiner of the Ontario Green Party, with a suggestion that I believe to be a rather decent initiative.
Ontario loses 319 acres of farmland each and every day to things like low-density urban sprawl, aggregate mining, and highways like Highway 413. And I believe that tariff-proofing Ontario's economy starts with protecting the farmland that feeds us and the farmers who grow that food and the 875,000 people who work in the food and farming sector, contributing over $50 billion to Ontario's economy. And so that's why today I'm proud to stand with MPP Bobby Ann Brady and to bring forward a bill that we will introduce later today, that if passed, the Protect Our Food Act is designed to create a food belt. And the bill proposes to do that by creating a task force that would include farmers, agricultural experts, and land use planners to develop recommendations for strong food belt protection. Now more than ever is the time to protect our farmland, support farmers, and grow more food right here in Ontario, because food security is national security.
This legislation is close to my heart because I represent Haldimand Norfolk, which is a significant agricultural region in Ontario, known for its diverse crop production and livestock farming. The loss of 319 acres of farmland each day equates to the loss of 9 family farms each week. 319 acres can produce more than 23.5 million apples, 1.2 million bottles of Ontario VQA wine, or 37.1 million strawberries. If we don't protect our food-producing land, we will send shockwaves across our economy with the loss of STEM, labor, technological jobs, and even damage our rural main streets. Let's all work together to protect our food supply and our farm families.
All right. So yeah, just a little thing that I had noticed in passing because, well, we don't get to talk about the Greens often, and we don't get to talk about agriculture all that much either. But yes, it seems that there is a push there to do this to try and protect our land for our food. And I hope that that there are other MPPs in Ontario who support this initiative because he is right. Food security is national security. Absolutely. All right, kids and cubs. Let's see, what else do I have for you here? Just a couple of little things before we go. With regard to cabinet, of course, right? You make a lot of people unhappy because there are people left out, but there are other things too, right? There are committees and chairmanship of committees and whatnot. So there are other goodies and stuff like that to be handed out. One of the ones to be handed out, it's not an official cabinet position, but still important, is who's going to be the party whip. And it seems that the Liberals have decided that Kingston and the Islands MP, Mark Garrettson, who we've had on our show, has been named the party whip. I think that's a particularly good choice. Mark Garrettson seems to have the particular ability to get under Conservatives' skin for some reason. They just really don't like him. They often try portraying him as a clown and that type of stuff. Seen lots of memes, but yeah, they really don't like him. He seems to have the way to needle them, so which is interesting. And that, I guess, got him noticed, got the attention, and now he will be the government whip. So he's been given a little additional responsibility. Prime Minister Carney on Wednesday also unveiled new cabinet committees responsible for carrying out the government's priorities, only one day after his new ministry was appointed. This is from My Politics. The committees are headlined by a new group devoted to, quote, priorities, planning, and strategy, which will be chaired by Carney and appears to be a replacement for the Central Agenda, Results, and Communications Committee formed under Justin Trudeau. The Priorities and Planning Committee is one of only two groups chaired by Carney and features virtually every high-profile minister, including Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominic LeBlanc, Industry Minister Mélanie Joly, Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne, and Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand. According to the Prime Minister's office website, the committee will set, quote, forward-looking strategic decision, prioritize government activity, and track implementation. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Carney has eliminated the cabinet committee exclusively focused on Canada-US relations, which was reinstigated during the last months of the Trudeau administration, when US President Donald Trump returned to the White House. However, responsibility for bilateral relations is mentioned as one of the responsibilities covered under the cabinet committee focused on secure and sovereign Canada, which will be chaired by Defense Minister David McGuinty. Government House Leader Stephen McKinnon said he would be, quote, reaching out to other parties soon about the Liberals' legislative agenda. So there you go. Committees, always very important. We don't hear, they do the work in the background like this, and every now and then something that will happen there that comes up and makes news. But committee work is very important because when the bills, I believe when the bills pass second reading, that's where they go to so that they can be examined clause by clause by the members of the committee, and they can bring experts in to come to testify stuff. And then what gets presented, those amendments get presented, and then they get voted on voted on committee, and then you get this bill, and that shows up for third reading. And if it passes, so committee work is extremely important in terms of making bills better, making sure that they're consistent, within itself and with other legislation around, and then of course the Senate, with sober second thought, has their function to do that way as well. But committees are very, very vital part of the process, particularly the legislative process. And committees can also investigate when there is scandal and stuff like this, but committees are meant to the goal is supposed to be to make bills better, right? So it's supposed to be a little more collegial, and that's why these the repeated revelations among conservative governments, across conservative governments at the federal level, of having this strategy book to append committees and make life hell with them are particularly odious to anybody who actually respects democracy, because the committee process is supposed to be intended to make bills better. And with that type of behavior, that seems to be the last priority of those who are engaging in that behavior, which is a little sad. Just taking a look at a couple of other things here. I think that's most of the stuff that I got from you. Just checking to see if there are any specific updates I need to know. No specific updates. All right. We didn't do it at the beginning of the show, but Winnipeg Jets. Boom. Good match yesterday. 4-0 victory. I think there was an empty netter in there as well. But a good match. They still trail the Stars 3-2 in the series. So lots, I mean, they basically have to win outright. They have to win 3 in a row if they're going to move on. So, but hey, it is 3-2. And I believe that the series comes back to Winnipeg. And again, if you can win that one at home, when you get to game seven, anything can happen. So tonight, there will be a do-or-die game for the Toronto Maple Leafs against the Florida Panthers, and that will be in Florida. So that's going to be a little bit of a tougher row to hoe for the Maple Leafs when you're playing in someone else's home to win, and the Leafs must win. So that match will be going at 8 p.m. Eastern today. Leafs are down 3-2 in the series, so they do need to win out the next two in order to move forward. We'll see what happens. I don't believe that there's a Yes, there is a PWHL match tonight as well. Ottawa Charge, Montréal Victoire. Ottawa has a chance to clinch the series here because they're leading 2-1. That will be at 7 p.m. And yesterday at the IHF World Hockey Championships, Canada did defeat Austria 2-1 for Canada to remain atop the pool. They're tied with Sweden at 12 points, but on the goal differential, Canada has the first place in that one. So there are 4 matches in the first initial 7-match round robin pool play before we figure out what's happening. But based on the points right now, it is looking very positive for Canada to be moving on to the next round. All right. And what else do we have for you if we're talking about stuff? Also wanted to mention that, again, Victoria Mboko, who we keep on talking about, keeps on plugging along. She won her match yesterday, defeating someone who was ranked number 45 in the world. Remember, she entered this tournament ranked 156th in the world, and has never been a top 100 player. She's just a new player coming up. So she's playing right now like she's top 50 in the world. It's just, I swear, she's a bit of a phenom. This young lady. We haven't had somebody, a phenomenon, come on so young like this. I think since Jenny Bouchard. I guess you could count Bianca Andreescu because she's kind of sort of like just popped out of nowhere and then won the US Open. But this is more the way that Milos Raonic came up through the rankings. When I first saw his name, it's like, you know, he wasn't in the rankings at all, and all of a sudden he was there, and like very quickly he was like climbing them up, and it only took him like 1 or 2 years from the point like he entered the top 1,000 to make it into the top 100, which is like extremely fast progress. So do keep your eye out on her, out for her. She is playing at a tournament in Parma, Italy, and she has advanced to the semi-final, where she will be playing a Romanian named Irina Begu, who is ranked 85th in the world, if I'm not mistaken, 83rd in the world right now. So technically, on paper, an easier match than the one that she had yesterday. So hey, no reason to hope, no reason to bet against her. Let's just put it that way. Also, a young man who we mentioned named Cleve Harper, who recently who recently entered the top 100 in the world in terms of males doubles play, and he's our only player in Canadian player in the top 100, is playing in a tournament in Bordeaux, France, and is doing very well for himself too. Has advanced to the semifinals in that one with his partner. So hopefully there could be another win for him there. It would be really good for Canadians. All right. I don't think I have anything else for you today, kids and cubs. So I will say that this is the end of our show. We hope that you loved listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please, if you can, tell your peeps and poops all about us. It really, really helps us when you do. And if you share our content and include a little word of yours when you do, that helps us a lot. People respond more to things that are shared that have a little something of you in it as well, because all of you, as I keep on telling you, are influencers in your own circles. So whatever influence you can use, we would be very grateful that it would be, put to use for our benefit. Now, kids and cubs, if you do want to make sure that you do not miss an episode, because sometimes you are busy and you are on the go, and you can't just sit there and watch a screen. Well, hey, we are portable. Take us with you. We have a podcast format, and you can do that. Get it for yourselves by going to our pod page, which is sponsored by the Ray Girl. podpage.com/the-true-north-eager-beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And when you go there and click subscribe, well, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you. Or if you are watching right now, you can just scan that QR code that's appeared on the screen, and that will take you right there. Thank you so much. By the way, if you happen to listen to us on podcast, Apple Podcast, or any that allows you the chance to give stars or reviews, please do. It helps us with the algorithm too. Okay. If you would like to help us in other ways, grab your surfboard, because Kit Elaine and Kit Cassie are beckoning you to come on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, where we have 3 buttons for you: like, share, and subscribe. Remember, if you're watching live, if you smash now, you don't have to remember to do it before you leave, but click our buttons. That too helps us with the algorithm. And we thank you so much for your help. If you would like to provide assistance to us in yet another way, kids and cubs, we do incur some costs to bring this show to you. And if you would like to help us with that, we would be very, very grateful for your support. Enthusiastic expressions of encouragement can be sent to our coffee page. That's coffee, ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word, where you will find the Emergency Hydration Fund, where every day we work to fight the scourge that is dry beaver. Do your bit to keep your favorite beaver moist. Make a contribution today. Now, or you can scan that QR code if you're watching that just appeared in the corner. Now, if you're not able to make a financial contribution, please do not worry, kids and cubs. That's quite all right, because the only tariff that we charge on this show is your attention and your participation. And you've already got that covered, so we have no problem. Those gifts mean the world to us, and we are very grateful to receive them, because we know that you have lots of choices. There's a lot of things soliciting your attention, so that you choose to give it to us. That means a lot, and we respect that, and we hope that you feel that in our content. All right, because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs. Remember, if you live in Quebec and if you have registered, the vote for the Quebec Liberal leadership race will take place from June 9th to the 14th, with the results being revealed on July 14th, 1 month later. Also, because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, as you know, we've talked about it on the show, there's a GoFundMe in place for former CEO of the Alberta Health Services, Athana Metsalopoulos, who is being subjected to warfare from the provincial government there, and definitely needs the help of Canadians so that she can bring her case to court, because it seems that she has uncovered some things that should not be happening with public dollars with regard to how they're being spent for private surgeries. So, if you would like sunlight to come to this, because it is the best disinfectant, and if you would like to be able to witness Miss Metsalopoulos having her day in court so that this can be studied, and if there is indeed something for a verdict to come down, that might require the government to clean itself up and might even get the public so mad at the government that they might want a new one. You got to support the GoFundMe. So if you look it up on the web, Kits and Cubs, it's a GoFundMe, and it's Medicine Hat Awareness Grassroots Group for Integrity and Justice is the name. The goal is $100,000. They have raised $80,970 so far, so they are 81% of the way to their objective. So if there's any way there that you can help, that would be very, very, very good. And Athana Metsalopoulos has also stated that any funds above that which are needed will be donated to a charity, and she's proposing that the funds go to the Alberta Cancer Foundation, and saying that that donation would be clearly acknowledged, and that the total amount is not from her, but that it reflects the intentions of those who donated to the GoFundMe. So there you go, Kids and Cubs. Great opportunity to get some democracy, great opportunity to get some transparency, great opportunity to force some accountability on the UCP government. So if you think this is a worthwhile initiative, please do contribute it. That's something that you can do for democracy today. All right. Words of wisdom. Kits and Cubs, stretch. Stretch. Had a tennis lesson last night. Went very well. I based on how I feel today, I probably did not stretch enough yesterday before doing it. So stretch. Just stretch. Never miss an opportunity to stretch. Not just your body, your mind. Yeah. Okay. I think that's all I got. So, Kids and Cubs. Could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourselves. And now, time for the audience participation. You know what to do, Kids and Cubs. On 1, 2, 3. Let me hear it. You want me to cue the cock? I can do that for you. Coming right up. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, Kids and Cubs. Don't have much of an Easter egg, so since we started out the show with a couple of funnies, might be time for the return of a few dad jokes. All right. Why did the donut go to the dentist? It needed a filling. I asked my friend, "What are you adding to the Indian food you're making for dinner?" He said, "It's G." Ah, thanks for clarifying that. And last one. Did you hear about the food fight in the kitchen? Some fish got battered. Ah. All right, Kids and Cubs. I know, they're terrible. Have a beaverific day.